Welcome to This Week in Health IT Influence, where we discuss the influence of technology on health with the people who are making it happen. Today, special guests, two people that used to work for me who have gone on to bigger and better things. David Baker, who I've had on the show before. He is the CIO for Pacific Dental, a DSO, dental services organization out of Southern California. Billion plus, I think it's heading towards 2 billion, dental service organization. And the person we like to call our mad scientist, Mostafa Khairzada, who is just a wickedly brilliant innovator he was within healthcare, now he's within healthcare on the dental side. And he and David are doing some really, really exciting and cool things at Pacific Dental, and I can't wait to share that with you. My name is Bill Russell, healthcare CIO coach and creator of This Week in Health IT, a set of podcast videos and collaboration events dedicated to developing the next generation of health leaders. This episode is sponsored by Health Lyrics. I coach healthcare leaders on all things health IT. Coaching was instrumental in my success, and it is the focus of my work at Health Lyrics. I've coached CEOs of health systems, startups, CIOs, CTOs, you name it. If you want to elevate your game in 2020, visit healthlyrics.com to schedule your free consultation. I recorded this episode a little while back. Again, before we moved, I went on site with them in their location. I really wish I could have given you the tour that they gave me of they have this lab that they're working in, and they are doing some great stuff around the dental experience, 3D printing and modeling. I can say these words to you, but I couldn't show you pictures of all the really cool things that they are doing. Great conversation. Hope you enjoy. All right, so here we are from the headquarters of Pacific Dental Services. I'm here with two of my favorite people in all of healthcare. I'm going to say healthcare because I interviewed Stephen Thorne and Dan Burke, and they made it clear to me that the teeth are actually inside the head, which is actually part of your body, which is part of healthcare.
That makes sense.
And they drove that home, which is such an obvious thing. And we just returned from the health conference. Mm-hmm. And the thing I loved was the Bernard Tyson, CEO, standing up there and saying, the head we have disconnected the head from the body. And everyone's thought was, he was talking about mental health. You of course,
like, that's us, it's dental.
You leaned over, you're like, he's talking about us. I'm like, I don't think he's talking about you, but you're absolutely right. And I think the industry's starting to recognize that. But this was actually planned as this might be a little more familiar because we have worked together for a long time. These two gentlemen were on my team at St. Joseph Health. David was innovating on the consumer experience, and we defined consumer a little different. We were talking not only about the consumer of the services, but we were also talking about our internal consumers.
Patient and physician experience.
Yeah. And Mostafa was his secret weapon, Mostafa Khairzada. And I've written blog articles about you, and David has taken his secret weapon from St. Joe's over to Pacific Dental, and we're gonna dive into innovation at Pacific Dental because I think it's a good continuation of what we've been doing. But just to give you guys some idea, we planned this as our 100th episode, like extravaganza. And I just published episode 147.
That's amazing.
Nice.
You should have done 150 then at least.
Good for you.
Nice.
Well, maybe this will be 150. We'll see. Because you guys have been very, very busy. There's a lot going on in dental.
47 episodes since we committed to that 100 one.
Yes.
Wow.
You're a content producer. I'm impressed.
A lot going on. So give us an idea. I've interviewed you twice. And we've interviewed your executive team, which was a phenomenal interview. But give us an idea of, where are you looking to innovate within dental today? What are you looking at? What technologies and what things are going on? Here, let me give you a mic.
So I'll give you the high level. It's probably a good question for Mostafa, seeing as he lives and breathes in that space. I hope to innovate 3 mics next time. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. But for now, we'll just pass it back and forwards.
One more sponsor, and we'll have a third.
One more sponsor. All right.
Sorry, this is way too familiar at this point, but we'll keep going.
I think we're at a pivotal point in dental for sure, and in healthcare. I think things are finally coming together more seriously. Everyone preached and talked about interoperability for the longest time, and I think it was just a nicety. People thought as long as they got it in the conversation, then that was good enough. But we're genuinely approaching a point where systems are coming together, for sure, finally, and people are open to interoperability, and it really meaning that we pass, data between each other in some way or another. So,
you know what's interesting is we did an episode on wisdom, because you're implementing Epic's wisdom
correct, yeah,
solution, and when you go to my website and you look at the search history results, when people are looking for Epic and dental, your episode gets hit a ton from Google search, and people that's what they're looking for. You guys are being looked at right now as, what are they doing with Epic, and is that interoperability play really going to be the catalyst for dental and medical to come together?
I hope it is. That's the anticipation, right? I think the power for us is bringing together not only, so you have your medical, both the primary care and the acute. Now you have dental, and you'll also have pharmaceutical, dependent on who you're with. Should you be with a CVS, for example, pharmaceutical will be there. Should you be with the same for them on the Minute Clinic, primary care, and then with us, we'll be the first DSO in the US to be able to bring that complete continuum of information together. So that's exciting.
That's really fascinating to hear. But so Mostafa, I want to get to you. So the blog article I wrote about you. You think different when it comes to innovation. I remember one time I went over to the hospital where you were stationed. I said, Mostafa, what's new? What's going on? And you're like, oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. We're doing so many great things. I said, well, just give what went on this week. It's like, well, I spent the entire day yesterday in a patient bed.
Yeah.
I'm like, the entire day. He goes,
That's what you paid me for.
To get a feel for it,
Yeah.
you gotta lay there. I'm like, and my first thought was, why is David allowing you to sleep during the day? But then you went through, you said, here's what I learned. And you just rattled off like 5 or 6 things right in a row. And it was interesting, because from that point on, I ended up talking a lot about the ambient sound within those rooms and what we were doing to address them. But that's what you really have to do. You have to put yourself in that environment to really see it.
That thing continues, by the way. So I think it's awesome, and he doesn't get to sleep as much on the job anymore, but he does. He's in. I think you did a whole week down at dental office recently.
Yeah,
he's out there living and breathing out.
I think that's the secret to being innovative in any industry, I believe. I think that if most people say, like, how do you invent ideas and all that? It's really not really a big secret. It's you look at the workflow, and then you see what are the gaps and what are the areas that you think can improve. Now, we were earlier kind of joking around about like my personal journey, right? And so part of what really drives that is that I experienced healthcare in such a not positive way. I didn't have a great experience in healthcare. This is like 7 years ago, right? When I was going through my own stuff. And for me, it was like I made a commitment to myself, and I think to people. If I was in a place of influence that I could change some technology or some component of a workflow to help patients while they're in their most vulnerable state, that in the end, that was going to be what I was going to measure myself with. Like in the end of your life, where you're thinking about, was I a good enough person? Did I do things correctly? And did I help people around me? Because ultimately, that's all that matters, right? And if that can help me, so these experiences really helped me kind of figure out what I needed to do. So yeah, I did spend a couple of nights in a bed. I did spend, David and I have this joke, I did spend a Friday night from 6 p.m. until the following day, 2 p.m. that Saturday at an emergency department, only just because I want to see that experience. Nobody, when I tell people about, like our own personal experiences, nobody really sees it that same way because it's your personal experience. So I thought, how can I learn somebody else's experience? Other than, the best way to do it is sit with them and just kind of feel it out.
Yeah, and some of the things you were working on were kind of fun. So Microsoft Kinect in the OR.
Yeah.
That was back in the day, which
Yeah.
was pretty interesting to even think about. and you watch surgery and you're sitting there going, these guys can't really interact with the technology because there's no good way to do that. Now voice is really taken center stage there, but at the time voice was nowhere to be found, and Kinect was really coming about. Talk about that one a little bit. That's I mean I know it's gone by the wayside, but it's just how did you go playing with your kids at home, OR, hey, these things should work together?
Yeah, so part of I always sound like I'm on a soapbox, but part of being a successful technologist in healthcare is breathing and living the experience. And so one of the things I did was I called a neurosurgeon and I said, hey, I'm a technologist. I'd really love to sit and watch you do brain surgery. So that's the best part. And he was just like, what? And I said, yeah, I want to know when's the next time you're going to do surgery. I want to sit and watch you. And he says, look, I have a spinal cord surgery that I'm going to do in a couple of days. It's 6 hours long. Do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And one of the things I realized while I was watching him, and the coolest thing was he was explaining the process as we're in that room, and there's all these people walking back and forth, and there's all these assistants, and he's doing this thing. He's standing in one place for hours and hours, and he's got his hands, he's using his hands to carve and do all the things that he's doing, and he's got these images in front of him that he would periodically stop, and he would kind of stare at the image. These are PACS images, the radiology images, and there were some that were 3D, some that were just 2D X-rays, and he would stop what he's doing, walk around the bed where the patient was, and then he would go onto the computer and he would use these special things so that he would still stay in the sterile field, and then he would kind of play with the image, look at it, and then he would walk back, and then he would get into it, and then he would go back again. So that whole process made me think, for every time he's interrupted to do something, that takes him out of his flow. Right? And so one of the most important things I've always felt was like, once you're in the flow, you're less prone to making errors and you're much more efficient and you're thinking like real sequentially and it's processing better. So then I thought, you know what? Look, my kids, when they go to the mall, they're always just like playing with these things. What if I brought that device into the OR, attached it to the PACS system, and then registered the hands of the surgeon with that system, so that no matter who walked in front or who else stuck their hand up, it would only register that physician's hand, the surgeon's hand. And then we kind of built these rules that if you do this, it goes to the next image, and if you do this, it'll make it smaller and larger.
And this was like back in 2014, 15?
That is, my son was asking me, he's like, what is it like when you're creating this stuff, right? And one of the hardest things is when you're working in fields where I'm not saying it's just me, it's people that do what we do. We're sometimes so far ahead of the industry in the way that we're thinking of things that it's really hard to sell the idea. And that's where the difficulty thing comes in, So we did some of that with the hands-free stuff, and then we brought in some of the robots to monitor patients that were at high risk of falling. And so some of the executives, like when you explain it to them, they get it, you guys get it. But then there's others that are like, this, I met with a...
And our job is to represent you well. And that was... the other crazy thing was just I would go over to St. Jude's Hospital where you were at, and I'd go into the basement, I'd look over and I'd be like, are those 3D printers?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just got like 4 of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you get 4 3D printers? He's like, we're like trying to figure out how they're going to be used in healthcare and that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm the CIO. You're getting them at the hospital, but I can't get them at the system.
Yeah.
Because you are where it was happening, as they say.
Yeah, and vendors wanted to. A lot of them still do. In fact, it's funny. I'm laughing because it's the same now, but they're more modern. And in his test kitchen, as we call it, there's probably like 6 of the things lined up with all sorts of goodies, and But there's some. I mean, we're working with I think some true pioneers, for sure in the Google and the AWS space. I mean, we've done some fun stuff.
Okay, so that explains that a little bit more. The other story, and actually, I want to get to that if you're able to talk about some of the things you're doing with Google and AWS.
Yeah, we can touch on some of that. To go back just to your earlier question, just playing around my head, we got as far as Epic is not the first company I think of with when we say like innovations. This is a topic around innovation, right? And I think that they are in the healthcare space, but ultimately that tool has got to be an amazing, operator's tool, physician tool, doc tool, clinician tool, where they can get in and out the information that they need to as quickly as possible to enable them to make decisions. The interoperability is key because the money, if you like, is in getting that data out, right? So once that data's out, the way we're manipulating it and what we're applying on top of that that's why I think we're at this tipping point. It's mind-blowing because the tools are learning, right, themselves. Machine learning, AI, overused terms like that. It's here, it's now, and we can take you through some really pretty amazing stuff.
The thing I loved about our partnership, the three of us as sort of partners, is David was fanatical about the consumer and how they actually usability around this stuff. Mm-hmm. Can we use it? Can we get in and out? I understood the business innovation. So there was some times where you guys were so far out there that I was like, all right, that's not going to help the system, and so I could help guide you in those kind of things. And then Mostafa, you were just always coming up with
the clinical usages.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the day you came to me, you met a guy at the garage, and you followed him all day through his day.
Oh, you remember that story? Yeah. Oh my God, that's a good one.
But that's what you did well, and then you would say, okay, here's where we're falling down.
Yeah.
I remember, a couple of those things where they came together were we were trying to redo the clinical workstation. We had state of the art. We really did have state of the art. I mean, we had the Improvata client, we had smart clients, we had state of the art for healthcare.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at each other going, yeah, this is state of the art for healthcare, but this is not state of the art. And so we're like, all right, Mostafa, dream up. What's next? What's the next thing? And you just went into your lab or whatever you do, and you came back and you're like, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be an Android device. They can run the EMR on it. They're going to carry it from room to room, just dock it, and it's going to sort of look like this. And you were making significant progress on that when we left and you guys moved over to dental.
That was so far ahead back then. We made that video.
Yeah.
And same thing, I did the talk the other day on innovation and the power of making sure that internally you have that emerging technology, as we call it here, or innovation team group, and that those investments are made. Because it's seen as a luxury. But I would argue that it's absolutely not. And if you don't invest in disruption yourself within, like another overused term I know, but it's true. If you're not there as a pioneer, you're going to be the next Kodak moment. It's so interesting to watch the amount of traditional companies that are displaced. And dental's traditional, and that's why I'm grateful here that it's such an entrepreneurial, tech forward-thinking company. It's like, what's next? How do we become the best and ensure that we maintain the status of the #1 dental company in the US, and it's through a lot of those applied technologies. Think about going into our office, right? The first thing I always recall, when I came into the company and was interviewing, I walked into one of the offices and I'm like, there's a tooth printer. They're printing teeth. This is amazing. I still call it a tooth printer. It makes me laugh, but it's a milling machine. It's quite common now. But we have every single office is enabled with one of these fantastic pieces of technology that enables you same-day dentistry, and it will print or mill the crown. So those days of putty in the mouth and waiting, with temporaries and then calling you back in a couple of weeks, they're gone. It's like, we will see to you same day in the chair and you'll walk out of that crown. I think that's phenomenal, and lots of folks are still not at that point, but that's basics for us. So I think it's a good head start. So talk to me about innovation in dental. So the first thing is, there's different levels of innovation, and Epic is innovative in the dental space in that what you guys see is businesses coming together, medical and dental, and the only way to really plug into that is either to create a new kind of HIE that brings the terminology of dental and medical together, or go with the largest medical EMR that's out there that has a dental thing, or do both,
which naturally brings it together.
Yeah.
So that is a form of the reason we talked about that from innovation is it becomes a platform which you can grow the business on.
We're going to create a DIE, Dental Information Exchange. I think, why not? It's just one of those things that gets overlooked, and in some of the work that we're doing, it's bringing partners together for the greater good. sometimes viewed as competitors, there's areas where, you can all come up together. Exactly the same with healthcare with the HIE.
You can hold this. No one wants to hear me. They're here to hear you.
So I think twofold. It's a foot in the door quickly with an amazing partner like Epic who have, such footprint already. And then how do we help the others come along? How can we even, assist private practice? Like what's good for us is good for other folks, right? It's not just about flying solo all the time. We work really closely with some of our other counterparts in how we can affect the dental industry in general and bringing it along. And it's disparate. There's so little information sharing. There's so little interoperability. It makes healthcare seem ahead.
Yep.
So Mostafa, what's in the lab? What crazy things are you working on that you're able to share?
We're focused on precision medicine right now a lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of precision medicine. We want to use math to solve healthcare problems, and so we're playing a lot with augmented artificial intelligence. There's a big movement. There's a lot of companies that are doing some of this stuff. For us, we think it's we think it's not a big deal. We think it's just a natural course and evolution in technology in healthcare. But precision medicine, customized medicine, those are the areas that we're most interested in. We're looking at tying, David touched on a little bit, oral systemic health. So we're the head, the body, right? How can we do that in the most effective way other than taking, complex mathematical formulas, putting in some inputs and getting the desired outcomes we want. The coolest thing one of the coolest things I've always had in my mind in the last 10 years is that, and this is a quote that's on my whiteboard, it says, we have all the answers. We have all the answers. Today, it's the questions we seek. Like, it's knowing to know, it's how do you ask the right question so you can get the answers out and then make it make sense for your business, whether it's improving patient satisfaction, reducing cost, increasing revenue, whatever.
So let's talk into each area.
Okay.
Let's talk about the consumer experience.
Okay.
So you guys are retail, and so I'm going to talk about the consumer, then I'm going to talk about the dental practice owner, and then I'm going to talk about we'll start there, and then I want to come back to the system because you guys have done some innovative things there as well. So let's talk about the consumer. What are some things you guys are looking at from the consumer experience standpoint?
We should have thought about what we were going to speak about, because there's a ton we're working on. Some is really there's some secret sauce, right? And some is I think we can unleash on the world now. I think
what's some stuff that's in pilot that we're going to be reading about anyway here shortly.
So from the consumer experience, why don't we talk? I mean, briefly, because there's stuff that's like 101, and it's not viewed as innovative, but it's a lot of dental can't get it right now. So online scheduling, right? One of our amazing success stories this year, and that was Mostafa came in and really pulled the group together that did that. We were told couldn't be done, technology is too old. Through the middleware and applying some of that, I mean now 30% of all our new patient bookings are done through that system, right? So it's leveling the playing field and just giving the basics. I can book a haircut online. Why can't I book a dental appointment? Now you can. So we crashed through a bunch of smaller wins, but they're big wins, right? And then on the consumer experience side, it's just making it. How do we make it easier for the patient to communicate with the office in the way they want to communicate as quickly as they can? So he's bringing together again under patient experience a series of products, of self-service opportunities to get that point-to-point communication right between patient and office. Text messaging was one.
Sure. Well, so we're taking a lot of the value-based purchasing concept ideas and applying it in dental using technologies, right? So we're constantly thinking about how do we improve the patient experience, whether that's one of the things that we're going to do in very shortly is, with Epic, our patients are going to have MyChart on their phone, so they're going to be able to be a lot more mobile. They're going to have a lot more access to their data. This is something that I don't remember. My mom was a dental assistant for almost 30 years, and she has she worked for her dentist, and he was amazing. But I can't wait to talk with him about this stuff that we're doing now because he's retired. But nobody ever thought about electronic records, much less your record in your pocket. And now you're seeing a tie back between what your dental health looks like, and using Epic, we can then look at other health information and then begin to look at correlating your overall health. So we're doing some of that. We're looking at how can we effectively predict for our patient population what their wait times are going to be like when they come to a supported office. So we're looking at where are our patients at any given time. We're looking at technologies that'll help us understand for different types of cases that the clinicians are working on, how long those cases take and how long they ought to take. A lot like some of the learnings that we had in managing operating room efficiencies, and we're bringing those ideas into this environment. And then we're looking at using some IoT to help us build that information for us. So stuff like that, and then the AI stuff.
And then chair side as well, in terms of, so for that same day dentistry, how do we get good, amazing information in front of the patient, stuff that they've not used to seeing in the average office. So for example, oral DNA is big for us, salivary testing, things that you wouldn't normally see, we're now able to present chairside and build this dental dashboard, right? This portfolio of so many feedback points to help the patient make better decisions around their treatments, right? It's more than just the human, who a lot of folks don't trust, right? Especially in that new dentist. You go, it's like, I think everyone's got a story. They go to the dentist and everyone's got a great dentist and everyone's got a horror story from a dentist, it seems. Because it's just that one doc that's in front of you giving you their opinion, and it differs. It's like you go to one dentist, you need 4 fillings and a crown. You go to another and everything looks pretty good, you just need a clean. It's like, who do I believe? So for us, it's applying technology there as well to help facilitate that expedited trust. We believe we're giving good feedback and giving good options. There's no harm in verifying as well with the technology and putting it in front of you. And there's so few folks that are able to do that.
So talk to me about, so Steve was on the show and he talked about growing over 2 billion in 4 years or something. I mean, it's the growth curve is pretty significant. So you guys are adding new offices constantly, I would imagine. And some of those are rural, some of them are local. How are you doing that? That was hard for us with physician practices in major cities. How are you doing it in Louisiana? You're in, 30 states, 20 states? I forget what it was.
It does change. 21,
21, yeah.
21, I think.
21 states, and there's some rural locations, some city locations. What kind of innovation did you do? And this is like incremental innovation, right? We've been doing a lot of this stuff, but you have to get faster at it, better at it, more efficient at it, because you're growing at a faster pace.
For me, it's about modeling the amazing business blueprint that's in place, right, for PDS.
Totally.
I don't think that
so you have an office blueprint that's
it's a checklist.
This is what the phone system looks like. This is
it's the magic sauce in general, right? I mean, where you can prescribe. I've seen so much success from the company with our owner dentists, right, in the practices, and them just having these amazing flyaway successes because they follow the model and the partnership, and we're there to support them, right? So you're taking everything off their plate. They're focusing on the art of dentistry and building their practice, and that proven model is behind them, and it just keeps improving because we're just pushing this incremental technology improvements along the way into the office. We just want to give them minutes back every day, and we want to be able to help them, work with the patients more expeditiously and getting that better quality of data so that they can just commence treatment. So we solicit the feedback from those offices constantly and are looking at what else can we put in there. And there's a whole pipeline, right? But right now, there is a specific blueprint and it's only getting better. And next year is going to be a pivotal year for us. So I say that obviously because the big Epic deployment's coming. Our data will be fully liberated. We'll have a pretty impressive, I would say, data warehouse, and the way that the visualization of some of that stuff and the AI that we're applying over the top is incredible. Then you've got the foundational stuff like SD-WAN in every office, right? Not many folks have done that. We've embraced it. We've deployed it. We have really, really fixed and good solid architecture on the back end with failover, with speed, enabling media in every office, enabling the touch screen and digital signage. I mean, it's really, this has been a couple of solid foundational years. Next year is the year when a ton of this comes together in our future state office.
Hey, you know what? There's another cool project that we're working on. Now imagine this: we're looking at using CB cone beam CT technology to look at the human anatomy at the head side. Not only are we going to be able to, this goes back to precision medicine. Not only are we going to be able to diagnose better using better technologies, but now we're moving into things like airways and looking at sleep apnea issues, and starting to look to see if that becomes part of what is one of our offerings as an organization, right? And so this is some of the really interesting thing. These are some of the interesting things that we're working on, including our partnerships with some of the primary care offices that we've lit up in the last year or so. Those things are super exciting.
Actually, when you were just talking there, it took me back to imagine this, and you did this all the time with me. It's like, what if we could do this? What if we could do this? And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, if we could do that, that would be really cool. And you started a lot of conversations that way. If we could do
We're in the middle of our corporate plan cycle right now, where we start to look at what does next year look like. Really mature process around where do those R&D dollars go? What do you want to achieve as a company, against our strategic business plan? And it's the same thing. But this is the fun thing. You did a what did you call it? The offsite the other day?
The innovation offsite?
Yes, he does an innovation offsite, gets a bunch of people there, and it was like kids in a candy shop for some of us, right? So it's like, imagine if time and money were no barrier, and then he just went crazy for a couple of days. But out of that, these visualization sessions are great. This is stuff over the years, right? I think we've learned from some of the big five, we're so good at stealing stuff now from really clever people. And so we've got all of these great visioneering kind of methodologies that we run through. And just watching everything go from nothing is crazy, let's just go and put everything out there, and then you whittle it down to maybe those top 5, 10, and then that's what you begin to frame up, and you frame them up in such a way that you get a little enthusiasm and some backing around that stuff, and they become our goals for next year. This is stuff that's going to help move the business along. It's going to be a better situation for the patient, better situation for the office. So it's fun going through that though. But the crazy stuff, like just going back to your point just then about he's in his element and he's in his mad scientist invention point.
So this last question I really want to get into is one of the challenges I always had in managing you was you wanted to do the innovation stuff. You always wanted to be the mad scientist. Just give me a lab, I'll come up with really cool stuff.
Right.
And we always pushed you back into an operational role. Not one that was too overbearing, but one that sort of kept you grounded. Was one of the things I did, and I'm wondering if that continued. Mostly because I want to look at David and roll my eyes. I'm wondering if that continued, and does that help you or does it hinder you? I mean, how do you? Because we all have parts of our job that we don't really enjoy.
Why don't you roll your eyes first of all? Sometimes I roll my eyes when I'm like, damn it, I sound like Bill. Why would I? Stop it.
David and I talked about that actually when I was first starting here. I think we both agreed, because we're both pretty inventive. And it's kind of a weird, because most people who are very alike don't tend to get along very well. So there's moments where I'm starting a sentence and then he'll finish it, and there's moments where he's like, hey, what if we did this, this, and this? And then I'll say, well, yeah, then we can do this, this, and this, and then it's just like this package, right? That kind of relationship is really cool to have. That's one of the success criteria, I think. You need to be in line. But we talked about operations, and one of the things we both agree on is that in order to be inventive, you have to know where the holes are, where the gaps are, where the problems are, and you can't not know that. I mean, you can't know that stuff if you're not involved in it, and if you're not seeing it day to day. So one of the groups that I am responsible for is the clinical operations support team, which in big healthcare is like the biomed group. And so this group is split into two. One is the architects. So these guys are constantly thinking about the next iteration of the systems we're bringing in. And then the other folks are responsible for supporting these existing clinical applications and systems mostly, not so much applications. But I feel it's really good to have that, honestly.
You just can't get too sucked. Like, it has to be a well-oiled machine, really, right? So he has a reputation for obviously the great invention.
Right. That's what nobody talks about. Oh my gosh, you got the database to go 15% faster.
Yeah, you should see that.
He's a good operator as well, right? He can go in there, streamline a team, build the culture in the team and get them delivering amazing customer service. So he's had to get that dialed as well. So that's come along, but you're right, they go hand in hand. So there's a whole nother side that folks, don't see. And there's the balance of you don't want to get sucked into operations because you'll never get to spend time on the innovation. So it's a balance. But I think we're at a point now, I think it's balanced really well. You've got a great team out there supporting those folks clinically on the clinical devices, right? Yeah. And yet you're able to spot gaps. How can I make their life easier? You don't always know. You can't glean everything just, sleeping in the bed for one night in the ED. You need to live it and breathe it a bit more. And owning a piece of the operations helps with that, I would say.
He's not making you do the Epic implementation, is he?
Well, I am responsible for the MyChart implementation and deployment. So that's one of the pieces that I do own. Well, I have to say, though, honestly, Bill, the most important part of having an inventive company has a couple of key pieces. One is it has to have an executive group that is very mindful of the future, not so much the present. The present is great. I love it. But what's next is what we should constantly be thinking about, and how do we adjust for that? And when executives are thinking that way, people like me flourish because I'm not thinking about today so much. I'm thinking about tomorrow. And then the next is, how can you build a team that you can trust? The one part of what I do that I'm absolutely the most proud of is my team. My team is so good. I have 24 team members right now. I mean, every one of them is just an amazing human being that has great sense of empathy and care for what they're doing. But one of the things that we did very strategically is we're building these smaller groups with product managers. All of our product managers come from hospitals, so they all have that clinical background, that clinical experience. And I think that's part of the thing that makes this kind of a thing successful.
That's fantastic. What I forget to, are you guys, I assume based on the way you're doing cloud, you're doing AWS, you're doing Google with their insights, all things you can't talk to me about.
It's all, it's multi-tenant. We're equal opportunities. It's like, who's got the best product? We like to look at ourselves as a platform company. By that I mean we can pull in and out the components of best of breed as we go with as little impact, overall. So we have a phenomenal set of middleware tools, I would say, and some great, data transformation tools that kind of are starting to bring it together. But yeah, we can doing a ton of stuff. The nice thing with going multi-tenant is you can bring, Google have come in and sat down and talked to us about areas of AI and image recognition and stuff that they're just best of breed naturally at it. It's what they do, right? And then Amazon on the back end with more of the traditional cloud compute layer, right? They're nails at that. It's just commonplace now.
And you've replaced the phone system with cloud-based phone systems as well.
Yeah, we did. I'm just laughing just because that was a big pain point initially. So I'm a big fan of RingCentral. Our vendor partners, we work real closely with them. We have great relationships with them that take time to build, and that's been a vendor where we've had a huge amount of success on something as basic as the phones. We're trying to get people off the phones who like speaking to humans anymore, right? But which is still a big part of the day, especially in the offices.
Self-service.
Yeah, they need to work, right? So emails got to work, phones got to work. None of this stuff that's going to win you CIO of the year, but it's all necessary. So I think our foundational product line is solid. It speaks volumes in uptimes that we enjoy now, and it's making IT boring, okay? And then we're keeping the trains running on time, Bill. But then we're building track, and he's building airplanes. I heard that somewhere from someone.
IT needs to move in the background and sort of disappear, but be enabling everything.
Totally.
guys, I'm looking forward to the 200th episode where it will definitely be the three of us hanging out, maybe in the lab. That would be
cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. Of course, you'd have like tarps over a bunch of stuff.
we do have some tarps.
Top secret science.
Yeah,
Nobody got to see
Funny.
it.
So this has got to be 150.
This will probably be 150. Yeah.
Nice.
We'll go from there.
after all the editing you're gonna have to do.
Well, thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate
Bill,
it.
thank
David,
you. Good to see
Thanks
you.
a lot, Bill.
Great seeing you.
Yeah.
I really want to thank David and Mostafa for taking the time to join me. They are just fun, just flat out fun people to be around. They are innovating. They are pragmatically innovating and changing the dental space. It is a lot of fun to watch, and I appreciate them taking the time to share some of that with me. Special thanks to our channel sponsors, Starbridge Advisors, VMware, Galen Healthcare, ProTalent Advisors, and Health Lyrics for choosing to invest in developing the next generation of health leaders. Please come back every Friday for more great interviews with influencers, and don't forget, every Tuesday we take a look at the news, which is impacting health IT. This show is a production of This Week in Health IT. For more great content, you can check out our website, thisweekhealth.com, or the YouTube channel. If you find this show valuable, share it with a peer. Best way you can support us and help us is to share it with others who would benefit from this content. Don't forget, we are right around the corner is HIMSS, and we will be dropping a lot of shows during that week, going a little bit off schedule from what we normally do. You will see we'll probably drop 3-4 interviews a day over the course of that week. So you'll probably get 20 shorter type episodes, our format is the This Week Health Events format. We'll do that, so there probably won't be a Tuesday Newsday episode, and there won't be a Friday episode. There's just going to be a bunch of great conversations with industry influencers and product companies, and you name it. We're going to try to vet those and give you just the best content we possibly can. Thanks for listening.